Call the member for Berowra.
Thanks, Deputy Speaker. When the Prime Minister declared you'd only need your Medicare card, not your credit card, he told one of the greatest untruths in Australian politics. Australians are entitled to expect when the Albanese government pledges to help their household budgets, they'll actually follow through. Whether it's parents with sick children, older Australian household budgets, they're all stretched to breaking point, and the cost of seeing a GP is an added pressure families simply can't absorb. That's almost 17,000 people in my community who are now having to pay a fee to see their doctor because of the Albanese government's failed policies. What's this led to? Australians are avoiding 10,000 GP visits every single day, with 930,956 fewer services given in the last quarter alone. That's more than a policy failure. It's a broken promise from this Prime Minister. On over 70 occasions, Mr Albanese said that under Labor all you will need is your Medicare card, not your credit card. But the reality on the ground tells a very different story. They can't ignore spiralling workforce shortages and expect practices to bulk bill just because the government wants it to do so. They can't tell Australians their Medicare card is all they need while delivering a system where the card is no longer getting them through the door. Labor needs to listen to patients, to doctors, to communities and to the reality that its policies are driving up costs and driving down access. It's become harder to see a doctor. It's become more expensive. Australians know that Labor has caused this. When Labor spends, you pay.
All right, strap in, because this one kicks the door open like a sausage roll hitting the floor of Parliament House at lunchtime. Picture this. The curtain rises on Australian politics and out strolls Labor, chest puffed out, chin up, promising the nation a fair go with a grin as wide as the Nullarbor. All you'll need is your Medicare card, they say. Not your credit card, not your savings, not your firstborn, just a little green and gold miracle card that was supposed to unlock the doctor's door like a VIP pass. Cue applause, cue hope, cue the soundtrack welling. And then, record scratch. Because out in the real world, Australians are tapping their Medicare card on the counter and being politely asked, "Yeah, nah, how would you like to pay the rest?" Real quick before we roll the footage, if you're enjoying this content, do me a huge favour, hit that like button and smash subscribe. Over 98% of viewers watch without subscribing. Don't be one of them. It's free for you and it helps us out more than you know. Already clicked? You're awesome. Let's get into the video.
Call the member for Berowra.
Thanks, Deputy Speaker. When the Prime Minister declared you'd only need your Medicare card, not your credit card, he told one of the greatest untruths in Australian politics. Australians are entitled to expect when the Albanese government pledges to help their household budgets, they'll actually follow through. Whether it's parents with sick children, older Australian household budgets, they're all stretched to breaking point, and the cost of seeing a GP is an added pressure families simply can't absorb. The facts are clear. Out-of-pocket GP costs have blown out to over $50 on average nationwide. That's an 8% jump in over 1 year. Bulk billing rates have collapsed across the country. Under the Coalition, the bulk billing rate in my electorate of Berowra was over 90%. Under Labor, this has fallen to just under 82%. That's almost 17,000 people in my community who are now having to pay a fee to see their doctor because of the Albanese government's failed policies. What's this led to? Australians are avoiding 10,000 GP visits every single day, with 930,956 fewer services given in the last quarter alone. That's more than a policy failure. It's a broken promise from this Prime Minister. On over 70 occasions, Mr Albanese said that under Labor all you will need is your Medicare card, not your credit card. But the reality on the ground tells a very different story. Let me tell you what Australians from my electorate are saying. They show up with their Medicare card and are hit with enormous gap fees. One pensioner was charged $211 for a single appointment. Another paid $44.66 for a telehealth call lasting barely 3 minutes. One person seeing a psychologist now faces a reduced rebate and must pay $275 per session. And others had to cancel their mental health sessions entirely because their clinician was forced to introduce a gap fee to keep their doors open. A concession card holder is paying $109 a visit. And even last Monday, when I attended a GP myself, I was charged $96 following my consultation. Bulk billing rates haven't just plunged in Berowra, it's happened in 32 electorates across the country, many in outer metropolitan communities like my own, where families are already under significant cost of living pressure. Many facing these rising fees are the ones that can least afford to pay. They're the communities Labor claimed they would help. Instead, Mr Albanese and his government have abandoned them. The government can't continue to blame whoever they want for these failures. The truth is it's their policies that have failed. They cannot continue to recklessly spend, impacting inflation, their failed energy policies, keeping energy prices high, and expect small businesses, including GP practices, to magically absorb those costs. They can't ignore spiralling workforce shortages and expect practices to bulk bill just because the government wants it to do so. They can't tell Australians their Medicare card is all they need while delivering a system where the card is no longer getting them through the door. Labor needs to listen to patients, to doctors, to communities and to the reality that its policies are driving up costs and driving down access. It's become harder to see a doctor. It's become more expensive. Australians know that Labor has caused this. When Labor spends, you pay.
That's where Senator Julian Lesser wanders into the scene, sleeves metaphorically rolled up, looking like the bloke who's about to ask the awkward question everyone else has been muttering into their wheat picks. He stands there and calmly points out that when the Prime Minister made that famous Medicare card line, it might have been one of the greatest plot twists in Australian politics. Not a Marvel-level twist, more like realising halfway through the movie that the hero forgot their wallet and stuck you with the bill. Australians were told help was coming for household budgets, that pressure would ease, that families could breathe a little easier. Instead, parents with sick kids, pensioners and everyday households are staring at GP invoices wondering if they accidentally wandered into a private clinic in Beverly Hills. The numbers, unfortunately for the spin department, don't have a sense of humour. Out-of-pocket GP costs now average over $50 nationwide, jumping 8% in just a year. Bulk billing, once as Australian as a meat pie, is quietly slipping out the back door. In Lesser's own electorate, bulk billing used to sit comfortably above 90%. Now it's dropped to just under 82%. That's not a rounding error, that's nearly 17,000 people suddenly discovering that bulk billed has become more of a nostalgic concept than a lived reality, like dial-up internet or a servo pie that cost $3. And what happens when seeing a doctor starts to feel like buying concert tickets? People stop going. 10,000 GP visits a day are being skipped, nearly 1 million fewer services in just one quarter. That's not Australians suddenly discovering yoga and positive thinking. That's people deciding they'll wait it out because the gap fee hurts more than the cough. Senator Lesser doesn't shout this. He doesn't need to. The stats do the heavy lifting, like a tradie carrying bricks up a ladder while the government explains that everything is structurally sound.
Then comes the greatest hits compilation. Over 70 times, the Prime Minister reassured Australians that under Labor, Medicare would mean Medicare. Card in hand, care delivered. Simple. Except on the ground, the reality looks a bit different. People rock up with that trusty card and are met with gap fees so large they check the receipt twice to make sure they didn't accidentally book a spa package. A pensioner charged over $200 for a single appointment, a telehealth call barely long enough to say, "Can you hear me?" somehow clocking in at thousands of dollars. Psychology sessions becoming a luxury item, rebates shrinking, patients cancelling care because even their mental health has to fit into the household budget now. Concession card holders paying over $100 a visit. Even the senator himself cops a $96 bill after seeing the GP, which rather neatly kills the idea that this is all hypothetical or exaggerated. And this isn't just one unlucky suburb, it's happening across 32 electorates, many of them outer metropolitan areas where families are already juggling groceries, rent, fuel and power bills like they're in an Olympic sport. These are the very communities Labor said it would stand shoulder to shoulder with. Instead, according to the parody-worthy irony of it all, those shoulders are now busy shrugging while pointing elsewhere. Energy prices, inflation, someone else's fault, anyone's fault. The vibe is very much, don't look at us, look over there. But Lesser's point lands like a thud on the chamber floor. You can't spend recklessly, keep costs high, and then act surprised when GP clinics can't magically absorb it all out of the goodness of their hearts. You can't ignore workforce shortages and then scold practices for not bulk billing. And you definitely can't keep telling Australians that the Medicare card is all they need, when more often than not, it's just the entry ticket to a much bigger bill. This is where the parody really sings, because no one in this script is twirling a villain moustache, Penny Wong isn't cackling in the shadows, Anthony Albanese isn't popping up in the Senate chamber, because as everyone knows, this is the upper house and he's got question time downstairs. It's not about evil masterminds, it's about promises made with flourish and delivered with an asterisk the size of Uluru, the kind of political optimism that sounds brilliant at a press conference and then quietly unravels at the GP's front desk. By the end of it, the message is simple, even if the delivery is wrapped in satire. It's harder to see a doctor. It costs more. People feel it every day, not in talking points, but in receipts. Australians don't need a lecture on who to blame. They need a system where their Medicare actually does what it says on the tin. Until then, the line "when Labor spends, you pay" isn't a slogan, it's just a summary of the experience at the clinic. And that's the punchline that doesn't even need a drum roll. The Medicare card is still there, still shiny, still Australian. It's just no longer the magic key it was promised to be. And Australians, with their dry humour and sharper memories than politicians sometimes expect, have noticed.